Welcome, dear friend, and thank you for choosing to rest here for a while in this quiet sanctuary. This story was made for you as a gentle companion to help your mind settle, your body relax, and to guide you softly towards a night of peaceful sleep. If you find this time together comforting, a simple like, a subscription, or a kind comment to share your experience is always a wonderful gift. Tonight we will be visiting the Ghyll of Murmuring Water, a place of profound and gentle stillness. Here we will meet Fendrel, the last keeper of the quiet ways, and join him in his simple, peaceful rituals of gratitude. Prepare to be soothed by the silvery-blue glow of magical moss, the deep resonant sound of sunken chimes, and the quiet comfort of a world that asks for nothing but your calm presence. Chapter 1. The Ritual of First Light. There are places in the world that hold their breath, and the Ghyll of Murmuring Water was one such place. It was a deep and gentle cleft in the land, a quiet thought held between one moment and the next. And here, in the very heart of this stillness, lived Fendrel. His home was as quiet as the Ghyll itself, a dwelling hollowed from the trunk of a great fallen tree, whose life had ended so long ago that its wood was now as smooth as river-worn slate. It was less a structure and more a gentle presence, a warm and dry space that smelled of old wood, dried herbs, and the profound peace of ages. It was here that Fendrel's day and our story truly begins. The first light of morning did not arrive in the Ghyll with any sense of urgency. It was a slow and thoughtful thing, a soft silver-gray luminescence that seeped down through the high, dense canopy of leaves far above. It was a light that did not cast sharp shadows, but rather seemed to gently persuade the darkness to recede. Fendrel was already awake, having risen with the feeling of the coming day rather than its sight. He moved with a slow, deliberate grace, his bare feet making no sound on the smooth, worn floor of his home. His first act of the day, the first of the quiet ways, was one of pure and simple greeting. From a large, shallow wooden bowl filled with clean, cool water, he selected a single leaf. It was a broad, waxy leaf from a night-scented fern, and it felt cool and heavy in his palm, beaded with perfect globes of dew. He carried it with the care one might afford a precious jewel and stepped outside his rounded doorway into the cool, still air. The world was awash in the scent of damp, fertile earth, a rich and comforting perfume that spoke of life and deep, slow time. Mingled with it was another scent, a sweet and gentle fragrance like vanilla and warm honey, which drifted from the pale bell-shaped flowers that grew in sheltered patches throughout the Ghyll. This was the scent of memory pollen, a fragrance that always brought a feeling of profound, baseless contentment. Just outside his door sat a single large piece of driftwood, its surface bleached by time and smoothed by the Ghyll's slow stream into a perfect flat table. It was here he performed the ritual. He knelt, his knees sinking slightly into the soft, mossy ground, and gently placed the cool, wet leaf in the very center of the wood. There were no words spoken, no grand gestures made. The offering was simply the act of placement, a quiet acknowledgement of the new day, a gesture that said, "I am here, and I am grateful." He remained kneeling for a long moment, his eyes closed, feeling the profound stillness of the world as it held its breath before the full dawn. He could feel the Ghyll awakening around him in 1,000 subtle ways. The air seemed to shift, a barely perceptible current that was less a breeze and more a slow exhalation from the land itself. He could feel the gentle pulse of life in the soil beneath him, a quiet thrum of roots and slow-growing things. His own breathing, he noticed, had fallen into a deep and easy rhythm, a perfect harmony with the unhurried cadence of his home. This was the true meaning of the quiet ways, not to impose a will upon the world, but to listen so closely that one becomes a part of its silent song. A soft, weightless touch on his shoulder brought a gentle smile to his lips. He did not need to open his eyes to know it was the siltwing, his placid and constant companion. The creature, a great downy moth with wings the color of wet river silt, had landed as softly as a falling bit of fluff. Its feet felt like nothing at all, and the gentle presence at his side was a familiar and deeply comforting weight. Together they waited in the quiet, a keeper and a creature, two still points in a waking world. When he finally opened his eyes, the light had softened further, the gray giving way to a gentle, pearlescent white. The leaf on the driftwood seemed to hold the new day's light upon its dewy surface, a small, perfect offering shining with a quiet inner radiance. Fendrel felt a wave of deep, peaceful satisfaction wash over him. The first ritual was complete. The day had been welcomed with the reverence it was due. He rose slowly, the siltwing still perched calmly on his shoulder, and felt the rightness of it all settle into his very bones. He turned to go back inside, ready for the simple tasks of his morning, carrying the peace of the ritual with him. The Ghyll was beginning to fill with the soft, indirect light of the full day, and the air was alive with the clean scent of water and earth. He felt utterly content, a quiet guardian in a quiet world, his purpose simple and profound. And so, the quiet was kept. The day had begun, as all his days did, in a state of simple, mindful grace. Chapter 2. The Stillness of the Sunken Chimes. The sun, a benevolent and distant presence, never shone directly into the Ghyll. By midday, it reached its highest point, and its light would filter down through the dense layers of foliage far above, arriving at the Ghyll floor as a soft, dappled luminescence that danced gently upon the surfaces of leaves and water. This was the time for the second of the quiet ways, the ritual of listening. Fendrel left his dwelling, the siltwing having now found a comfortable perch on a low-hanging branch, its downy wings blending perfectly with the soft bark. He walked a familiar, winding path, his feet sinking slightly into the damp, springy moss that carpeted the ground. The air was warmer now, thick with the scent of green, growing things. His destination was the heart of the Ghyll, a place where the stream widened into a perfectly still and circular pool. The water here was as clear as spun glass, and through its unblemished surface, one could see the pale, sandy bottom. Growing from this bed were the Sunken Chimes, a cluster of a dozen or so reeds, their hollow stems a beautiful pale green, smooth and seamless. They rose just to the surface of the water, their open tops creating small, perfect circles on the pool's tranquil face. They were a wonder of the Ghyll, a natural instrument waiting for the gentlest of players. Fendrel's ritual was one of profound patience. He settled himself at the water's edge on a bed of thick, cool moss that felt like the softest cushion. He did not sit cross-legged, but rather curled on his side, his head resting on his arm, in a posture of complete and gentle repose. His purpose was not to command the chimes, but to become quiet enough to receive their gift. He slowed his breathing, letting each exhalation be longer than the last, feeling the tension in his shoulders and back dissolve into the soft ground beneath him. His focus was entirely on the pool, on the perfect stillness of the water and the silent promise of the reeds. He waited. There was no impatience in his stillness, no anticipation that caused a flutter in the chest. It was a deep and abiding state of presence. He observed the tiny iridescent water striders that dimpled the surface without breaking it, their movements deft and silent. He watched a single broad leaf spiral down from the canopy high above, a slow and graceful descent that took many minutes until it finally came to rest upon the water with a touch so light it made no ripple. The world seemed to slow down to match his own inner calm, every detail becoming clear and wonderfully significant. The Ghyll was filled with a deep, layered silence. There was the gentle, constant murmur of the stream as it flowed in and out of the pool, a soft and continuous whisper. Above that, there was the vast green quiet of the growing things, the rustle of a billion leaves so far away it was more a feeling than a sound. And within all of that, there was the specific, focused silence of the pool itself, a pocket of perfect equilibrium. Fendrel let these layers of quiet wash over him, each one calming his mind a little more until his thoughts were as still and clear as the water before him. It was then that it happened. A single heavy drop of condensation that had been gathering on the tip of a wide fern leaf directly above the pool finally let go. It fell, a perfect shimmering sphere, and struck the exact center of the pool's surface. The ripple it created was a slow, beautiful thing, expanding outwards in a perfect circle. As the ripple passed through the sunken chimes, the water displaced within their hollow stems caused them to move, ever so slightly, against each other. The sound they produced was not loud, but it was profound. It was a single, low, resonant chime, a note so pure and deep that it seemed to vibrate not in the ears, but in the very bones of the listener. The sound hung in the air for a long moment before fading back into the deep quiet from which it had come. Fendrel did not move. He simply lay there, letting the vibration of that perfect note settle within him. It was a sound that seemed to wipe the world clean, a pure tone of absolute peace that smoothed out any remaining crease of worry or thought. It was the voice of the Ghyll, speaking its language of stillness. He felt a profound sense of connection, of having been a worthy audience for this small, perfect performance. He remained by the pool for a long while after, feeling the echo of the chime within his own quieted heart. The ritual was complete. He had offered his stillness, and the Ghyll had offered its song in return. Rising slowly, feeling limber and wonderfully light, he made his way back towards his dwelling. The dappled sunlight seemed a little brighter, the scent of the air a little sweeter. A deep, abiding calm had settled over him, a gift from the sunken chimes that would last for the rest of the day, a perfect and resonant peace. Chapter 3. Tending the silver-blue light. As the day began its gentle descent into evening, the quality of light in the Ghyll transformed once more. The soft, dappled sunlight faded, replaced by the deep, velvety blues and purples of twilight. This was the time of the third and perhaps most visually beautiful of the quiet ways, the tending of the Aethelflow Moss. This unique, wondrous moss grew in thick, soft patches on the smooth, curving wooden walls of the ravine. During the day, it was a handsome silvery green, but its true magic was revealed only in the dimming light, a magic that Fendrel had the quiet honor of nurturing. He took up his tool for this ritual, a simple fan made from the softest, downiest feathers of a marsh bird, bound together at their base with a supple leather cord. The feel of the feathers was like brushing a cloud against his skin. He left his dwelling and made his way to the nearest patch of moss. The air was growing cooler now, and it carried the clean, crisp scent of night-blooming flowers and the ever-present aroma of damp earth. The Ghyll was hushed, settling into a deep and profound quietude in preparation for the night. The ritual was one of gentle care and profound stillness. Fendrel's task was simple: to clear away any stray leaves or fallen twigs that had settled upon the moss during the day. He worked with a slow and loving deliberation, using the feather fan to whisk the debris away with the lightest possible touch. Each sweep of the fan was a soft whisper of a sound, a caress rather than a cleaning. He was not scrubbing the moss, but merely freeing it, allowing it to breathe in the cool night air. The texture of the moss itself was wonderful, a deep, springy pile that felt cool and alive beneath the gentle brush of the feathers. As he worked his way along the Ghyll walls, he began to notice the change. The Aethelflow Moss was a living barometer of tranquility. It absorbed the stillness of its environment, and in return, it offered its light. In the deep quiet of the evening, with Fendrel's own calm and focused presence adding to the peace, the moss began to glow. It started as a faint, almost imperceptible shimmer within the silvery fibers, a hint of inner luminescence. But as Fendrel continued his gentle work, and as the ambient light of the sky faded further, the glow grew stronger. He finished his gentle sweeping and then found a comfortable spot to sit, his back against a smooth curve of wood, his gaze fixed upon the mossy walls. Now came the second part of the ritual, the offering of silence. Fendrel sat in perfect stillness, his hands resting in his lap, his breathing slow and deep. He quieted his mind, letting go of all thoughts, focusing only on the soft, cool air entering and leaving his lungs. He became a vessel of pure, uncomplicated calm, his peaceful energy a gift to the moss. And the moss responded. As if drinking in his serenity, its light intensified. The faint shimmer blossomed into a steady, ethereal, silvery-blue glow. Patch by patch, the walls of the Ghyll began to light up, not with a harsh or brilliant glare, but with a soft, otherworldly radiance that seemed to come from the wood itself. The light was cool and gentle on the eyes, bathing the entire ravine in a tranquil, dreamlike atmosphere. It cast no sharp shadows, only soft, diffused pools of light and deeper, velvety darkness. The scent of the air seemed to change, too, taking on a clean, crisp quality, like the air after a gentle rain. The siltwing, drawn by the light, left its perch and began a slow, silent flight through the illuminated Ghyll. Its large, downy wings caught the silvery blue light, making it look like a wandering piece of the moon. It flew in lazy, gentle circles, a silent and appreciative audience for the nightly display. Fendrel watched it, a feeling of deep, quiet wonder filling his heart. This was his home, a place of living light, of silent music, of profound and unwavering peace. He sat there for a long time, simply being, bathed in the tranquil glow. The light of the moss was more than enough to see by, a soft, natural lantern that kept the deepest dark at bay and made the Ghyll feel safe and wonderfully enclosed. This was the gift of the third ritual. In exchange for his care and his quiet mind, the Ghyll offered him a world of gentle, luminous beauty. When he finally rose to return to his dwelling, he walked through a world transformed, a corridor of soft, magical light. The quiet was kept, and it was beautiful. Chapter 4. The Weaving of Gratitude. Sometimes, a soft, persistent rain would fall upon the Ghyll, a sound that was not disruptive but deeply soothing. The drops would be filtered by the high canopy, arriving not as a downpour but as a gentle, rhythmic drumming on the roof of Fendrel's dwelling and a soft hissing sound on the leaves outside. These were days for the indoor quiet ways, for the gentle, mindful preparations that sustained the rituals. These were days of touch, of texture, and of slow, patient crafting. Fendrel found a profound contentment in these quiet, focused tasks. On one such rainy day, he sat on a low stool in the warm, dry air of his home, which smelled wonderfully of beeswax and old, clean wood. Before him was a collection of driftwood he had gathered from the stream bed, pieces worn so smooth by the water's constant caress that they had no edges at all, only soft flowing curves. His task today was to polish them. From a small wooden pot, he took a scoop of soft beeswax, fragrant with the memory of 1,000 flowers, and worked it into a soft, well-worn piece of cloth. He picked up the first piece of wood. It was cool and felt almost like silk in his hands. He began to rub the beeswax into its surface, his movements slow and circular, his focus entirely on the sensation of the wood warming beneath his touch. The gentle friction created a soft, rhythmic, whispering sound, a perfect counterpoint to the gentle drumming of the rain outside. He was not trying to force a shine onto the wood, but rather to awaken the deep, soft luster that was already there. With each pass of the cloth, the wood's grain became a little richer, its color a little deeper. It was a meditation in motion, a simple act of care that brought a quiet, deep satisfaction. When the polishing was done, he turned to his next task. In a corner of his dwelling was a bundle of long, supple willow shoots, soaking in a basin of water to keep them pliable. Today, he would weave a new offering basket. He selected several of the longest, most perfect shoots, their bark a smooth, pale green that felt cool and alive. He began the slow work of weaving, his fingers moving with a practiced and gentle dexterity. The main sound was the soft, rhythmic creak of the fibers bending and interlocking, a humble and comforting music. There was no pattern he was following from a book, only a pattern held in his hands, passed down from the keeper before him. The weave was simple and strong, a spiral that grew outwards from the center. He focused on the feel of the willow, its smooth surface, its gentle resistance, the way it held its shape once it was bent. He was not rushing to create a finished object. The purpose was in the weaving itself, in the slow and deliberate creation of a vessel for gratitude. His breathing was even, his mind calm and clear, his entire being poured into the simple, repetitive motions. Outside, the rain continued its soft, percussive song, and the light inside his home was dim and gentle. In the corner, a small patch of Aethelflow Moss that he cultivated in a wooden bowl provided a soft, silvery-blue glow, a small companion of living light that seemed to brighten in response to his focused, peaceful work. The air was filled with a tapestry of soothing sensations, the gentle sound of the rain, the soft creak of the willow, the subtle scent of beeswax, and the cool, steady glow of the moss. It was a perfect cocoon of tranquility. As the afternoon waned, the basket was complete. It was a beautiful thing, simple and perfectly formed, its shape pleasing to both the eye and the hand. It felt sturdy and light, ready to hold the small, beautiful things the Ghyll offered. He placed it beside the newly polished pieces of wood. His tools were ready. His spirit, too, felt prepared, settled by the long hours of mindful work. He had spent the day not in idleness, but in a state of active peace, his hands busy but his mind at rest. The gentle rain had been a gift, an opportunity for this quiet and essential work. The preparations were as much a part of the quiet ways as the rituals themselves, a constant gentle current of gratitude that flowed through every moment of his life. Chapter 5. The Murmur of Thanks. There came a day that felt different from the others. The air in the Ghyll was exceptionally still, so quiet that the gentle murmur of the stream seemed to be the only sound in the entire world. The light that filtered from above was a soft, pure gold, and a feeling of deep, resonant peace seemed to emanate from the very wood and soil of the ravine. Fendrel felt it in his bones. This was a day for the ritual of gratitude, a gentle practice that brought together all the other quiet ways into a single heartfelt expression of thanks. He gathered the things he had prepared. The offering basket, woven with such patient care, felt light and strong in his hands. The pieces of polished driftwood were smooth and warm, their surfaces glowing with a soft internal luster. He filled the basket with the most beautiful offerings he could find, not by picking anything living, but by gathering what the Ghyll had already let go. There were fallen leaves of the most vibrant crimson and gold, soft curled pieces of bark that looked like written scrolls, and the pale shed petals of the night-blooming flowers, which still held a faint, sweet scent. With his offerings ready, he made his way to the heart of the Ghyll, to the place where the walls curved to form a small natural alcove. Here, the Aethelflow Moss grew at its thickest, and its silvery-blue light was a constant, gentle presence, a soft glow that pulsed with the deep, slow heartbeat of the ravine. He knelt before the mossy wall, the cool, damp earth a comfort beneath his knees. He took a moment to simply be there, to breathe in the clean, sweet air, and to feel the profound stillness of the place settle over him completely. Slowly and deliberately, he began to create his offering. He took the polished pieces of driftwood and arranged them on a flat patch of moss, not in any specific symbol, but in a simple flowing pattern that was pleasing to the eye like a meandering stream. The contrast of the warm, dark wood against the cool, glowing moss was beautiful. Then from the basket he took the leaves and petals, arranging them with a gentle touch around and upon the wood. The vibrant reds and golds were a striking and beautiful complement to the silvery-blue light. He was not creating a monument, but a moment, a small temporary expression of his deep and abiding appreciation. When the arrangement was complete, he sat back on his heels and simply observed it. The siltwing, as if sensing the importance of the moment, had landed on a nearby branch and was watching with its large, dark, unblinking eyes. The Ghyll was utterly silent, holding its breath once more. Fendrel had no grand prayer to recite, no ancient words to intone. The quiet ways were older and simpler than that. His role was not to speak to the Ghyll, but to harmonize with it. He closed his eyes, drew in a long, slow breath, and then released it not as a sigh, but as a sound. It was a low, soft hum, a single sustained note that came from deep within his chest. It was a wordless murmur of thanks, a vibration of pure gratitude that he offered to the air, to the wood, to the water, and to the light. The sound was not loud, but it filled the small space, a gentle and resonant offering from his heart to the heart of the Ghyll. And in that moment, the Ghyll answered. From the still pool nearby, the Sunken Chimes emitted a soft, responsive chord, a trio of low, harmonious notes that seemed to rise up in perfect sympathy with his own. The Aethelflow Moss, as if nourished by the sound, brightened noticeably, its silvery-blue light pulsing with a soft, warm intensity. And from a cluster of nearby flowers, a gentle breeze, born from nowhere, shook loose a cloud of shimmering memory pollen that drifted down around him, filling the air with its sweet scent and a profound feeling of warmth, joy, and being utterly at peace. Fendrel fell silent, the last of his hum fading into the air. He sat in the afterglow of the moment, bathed in the brighter light, feeling the gentle resonance of the chimes in his soul and breathing in the comforting scent of contentment. He felt a sense of profound, complete, and utter fulfillment. He was a part of this place, and it was a part of him. He had given his thanks, and the Ghyll had thanked him in return. He knew with a certainty that needed no proof that all was well. The quiet was kept. He remained there for a long time as dusk settled, a small, still figure in a world of gentle, glowing magic, perfectly and peacefully at home.